Hi, I'm Adam Kunzmiller with BGG TV at Gen Con 2014, and I'm joined here by Jason Hill with Flying Frog Games, and we're here to look at Shadows of Brimstone. So, what is Shadows of Brimstone?
Well, Shadows of Brimstone is basically a fully cooperative dungeon crawl adventure game that mashes up Old West and unspeakable horror. And like I said, it's fully cooperative, so all the players work together against the game itself. And you basically form up a posse of classic Old West hero archetypes, like the bandito or the saloon girl, the gunslinger, the preacher. And you go down into the mines that are overrun with crazy demons and creatures on missions to rescue some townsperson that's been hauled off in the night, or maybe to try to close up a portal to another world that's opened up and the creatures are pouring through.
Very cool.
So the game has a lot of versatility to it. It's basically a dungeon crawl where, as you go, you're dynamically generating the board. And so the heroes move around. We have really highly detailed plastic figures for the heroes and for the monsters. And basically the heroes move around the map tiles sort of in a tactical fashion. And as they get to the end of a map tile, you'll draw a map card, and that basically shows the next map tile that you'd place on the board. And so then they would connect up with sort of a puzzle piece fashion like that. And so it builds the mine as you adventure. And so it's different every time you play. So even if you're playing the same mission, where you're trying to go in and seal a gate that's opened up to another world, a crazy portal, on one mission you'll have to go down this really long winding path this direction, or maybe next time it'll be through an entirely different set of rooms or a different arrangement. Now,
okay, so the tiles are coming out by the cards. What determines what horrors we will encounter?
Yeah, well, as you find rooms, you'll use exploration tokens. Each room will get an exploration token on it, and at the end of the turn you flip that over and it tells you how many doors there are on the map tile, as well as if there are any portals to other worlds. It also tells you if there's any attack or encounter, and it tells you if there's any clues on your current mission. Okay. So the little exclamation points are clues. So, some missions will say, when you find your first clue, this thing happens. When you find your second clue, that thing happens. Or after you found 3 clues, you found the objective, and so you have to fight a large enemy like one of these big guys.
Or this guy over here.
Or maybe even the massive Harbinger. So there's actually 2 different core sets for Shadows of Brimstone. There's Shadows of Brimstone City of the Ancients and Shadows of Brimstone Swamps of Death. And each one has the same rule book, but it has a different set of contents in each box. So you can play either one on its own, or you can combine the 2 to have twice as much content. Twice as many hero classes to play, twice as many monster types to fight and encounter, twice as many map tiles, as well as twice as many of most of the cards and decks. And one other thing that's really kind of cool and exciting about the game is that as you explore, you can actually find these portals that lead to other worlds, and you can cross through that portal and find, another world to actually explore and have adventures on the other side of that portal. So all the map tiles are actually double-sided, and that basically means that each of the core sets focuses on one of the other worlds. So the City of the Ancients box set has the mines and a set of heroes and a set of monsters. But if you pass through a portal, you reach the Targa Plateau, which is an ancient, frozen-over alien city that's halfway across the galaxy. And all of the people that built the city are long gone, but there's creepy creatures that have moved into the shadows and sort of inhabit it now. And you can find cryo tubes and open them up to see what's inside, or maybe even find alien technology that's been just sitting there.
So is that another way that these 2 sets can also interact, where when you go to a different portal, you could go to a portal from the other set?
Yeah, exactly. So when you go through a portal, you randomize which other world you go to. So if you have just one box set, you're basically always going to be adventuring in the mines and finding portals that lead to this ancient frozen-over alien city of the Targa Plateau. If you have both core sets and you mix them together, or if you get expansion other worlds down the road, anytime you find a portal, you draw a world card to see what exactly world you found, and then that has an entire tile set and grouping of cards to explore that world as well.
Great. Now give us a quick overview of how the characters are actually going to go about taking down these various things that they encounter.
Sure. So basically, one important thing that you have for the game is the depth track. And the depth track, basically at the start of the game, you have a little marker that goes on the mine entrance, and that shows where the heroes are in the mine. And then you've got a different marker that goes on the darkness down deep in the mine. It's basically the evil that lives down in the mines and that's pouring through these portals. And every turn, one of the heroes has the old lantern, and that basically is what you use to hold back the darkness. And so every turn you'll roll 2 dice, and if you roll high enough, you hold back the darkness and prevent it from gaining more of a foothold. If you fail it, their marker moves 1 step up the track closer and closer. And when it hits these little specially marked spaces on the track, something bad happens to the heroes. And of course, because you're playing fully cooperative, the game itself is trying to stop you and trying to attack you, and that's represented by the darkness. If the darkness ever escapes the mine, basically the mission has failed. The darkness has escaped the mines and overruns all the local towns and all of that. And then the heroes, of course, every time you place a new map tile, you move the marker 1 step deeper and deeper into the mine, making it harder to hold back the darkness. And when you find monsters, one of the things that's kind of cool is the game is very much scaled to play with 1 to 4 players if you have one of the core sets, or up to 6 players if you have both core sets. And the way we scaled the enemies is we actually have 3 different threat decks, and it's based on the number of heroes that you're currently using. So if you have 1 to 2 heroes, you're drawing from the green low threat deck. If you have 3 or 4 heroes, you're drawing from the yellow threat deck, and 5 or 6 heroes draw from the high threat deck. So that's basically a way of building it in, so it's really easy to have different monsters or different quantities of monsters show up based on how many heroes you're currently fighting.
Okay.
And so each hero has a hero character sheet that has their stats and their abilities on it, and makes each hero class play really differently from one another. They also have starting gear that they begin with, and each hero gets to choose, whenever you start a new character, you get to choose 1 starting upgrade. So for instance, with the Saloon Girl, you get to choose 1 of your 3 possible starting upgrades. So maybe you're a Saloon Girl that's really into dirty fighting, so she gets extra damage, or maybe she's got an acrobatic dodge, so she can duck and weave between enemies, and is better at preventing damage to herself. As you play the game, you can actually keep your characters from mission to mission and gain, find gold and loot down in the mines, gain experience for killing enemies, and go up in levels, getting new abilities and new gear between adventures.
So I imagine that's where this adventure book comes in.
Yeah, exactly. The adventure book has a lot of really cool background info. It's got all the missions that you can play in the game, and there's different missions between the 2 core sets. It also has all the information you need for each of the hero classes for how to play them, and a skill tree when you start leveling up and gaining new abilities.
Okay, great. And how long does a typical game session last?
It really depends on the number of players and the mission that you're playing, but it can be anywhere from an hour, maybe 1 to 2 or 3 hours, depending if you're playing with 5 or 6 heroes or only 1 or 2 heroes, or if it's a longer mission or shorter mission.
And if you're playing through this adventure book, how many sessions will you get to go through before you start to kind of exhaust what's in here?
Well, one of the things that's really cool about it is, because everything is dynamically generated, every time you play, you can play the exact same mission many times, and you'll always be seeing a different map layout. You'll be seeing different enemies, different encounters, finding portals that lead to different other worlds.
Sure.
And so it's really never the same, even if you play the same mission a bunch of times. And you can level up, the heroes can level up quite a bit, and to get 1 hero to level 8, which is what the max level is in the core sets, would probably take at least 50 or 60 games with just that 1 hero.
Wow.
And so it gives you a lot of replayability, because you can not only have different party sizes, with maybe 3 heroes or 4 heroes or 2 heroes or 6 heroes in different missions, but you can also have groupings where maybe 2 or 3 people could play the Saloon Girl, different Saloon Girls.
Sure.
So each Saloon Girl is different from one another based on the upgrades you choose, or the personal items you might get. One of the things that's kind of cool is whenever you're starting a character, you get 1 random personal item card, and that gives you a unique, cool, special bonus, but it also gives you a little bit of backstory on the character. So for instance, this Saloon Girl might start with the Bear Claw. So clearly she's been on adventures, gone up into the mountains, and either defeated a bear on her own, or maybe she knew somebody that passed along this heirloom. Maybe her paw gave her the bear claw that he's been holding on to for years, and so she gets these bonuses because of that. So it helps you build a story as well as being cool in-game mechanics.
All right, great. And for those that are interested, is this available now widely for purchase?
So Shadows of Brimstone should be hitting retail in mid to late November, but we did a Kickstarter back in last year in November, and those are starting to ship out at the end of this month.
All right, great. Well, once again, that was Shadow of Brimstone, the 2 base sets.